Hey y'all, you're watching Portie's Garage. Today we're going to try and transform these stock 83 taillights into Cobra taillights. And by that I mean the taillights that came on the 93 Mustang Cobra and the SVO models. It's just a little bit of difference in paint, and we're going to see if we can do it ourselves here. So, let's check it out. Spoiler alert, it totally worked and it looks great. First thing we're going to do, take these taillights out. To do that, we got to remove the trunk liner to get access to it, and I believe it's just 6 bolts here holding these on. Now that we got the trunk liner out of the way, it's time to start taking the actual light out. First thing you want to do is take the bulbs out. There are 4 of them. It's pretty easy. You're just going to take them, twist them, and pull them out. One thing you want to be careful of is try not to touch the actual light bulb. A lot of this automotive lighting reacts pretty harshly with oily fingers or anything like that, so you're going to want to try and avoid that. All right, next we've got 6 9mm bolts in here we got to take out, and we should be able to pull the lens right out. Now, I don't know how well you can see that, but 2 bolts actually didn't come out. This one and this one. I'll show you what's going on here on the back end. And you just slide the headlight housing right on out. So the way these headlight housings are made is this threaded thing just kind of screws into this plastic bit. I guess over the years, the nut has rusted to the bolt instead of the plastic. So some of them instead decided to stay on the car, like these guys right here. So I'm just going to grab this threaded bit with channel lock, take it off, and then we'll glue them back into the housing. So here's what they look like. This top part goes into the plastic, and the bottom part is where you thread your nut on. And since we got a new area uncovered, might as well clean it up. So now that I got the lights out, I'm getting ready to start working on them, and I notice that this is starting to come apart here. This lens is starting to pop out of the housing. I think I just snapped a clip off right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the lens off. I'm going to clean inside the housing, get everything nice and shined up so the lights actually work, and then I'll reglue the housing on. So getting the housing on, pretty easy. I'm just going to try and pry it apart with this spackling knife here. It's kind of already coming by hand. I think the key is just to get the clips unsnapped, and then you can be able to pull it right off. There we go. And just as I expected, it's a little dirty. It's not as bad as it could have been, but we're gonna clean it up anyways. And by the time we're done, we'll have brand new taillights basically. Before I start cleaning the inside of this thing, I do wanna get rid of this butyl tape. Just kind of like this rubbery junk that was holding the lens on. I don't know, it's kind of gross. I'm gonna replace it anyways. It's obviously failed. So I'm just using a flathead screwdriver. I'm gonna start peeling it out. Well, anyway, you get the idea. Now that I got the housings all nice and cleaned up, I'm going to glue the studs back in. I'm just using some of this E6000. Just going to put a little dab of glue on the end and then screw them in. I'm getting ready to start working on the taillights here, and I notice I do have a chip right here along the lip. Fortunately for me, that's on a painted section, so I should be able to hide it. But what I'm gonna do before I do anything, I'm gonna take some files, kind of rough it up a little bit, and then I'm gonna throw some plastic putty in there, see if I can get it nice and smooth. Here's the chip after I let the putty dry and sanded it down. Got the lens all scuffed up, ready for some clear coat. Here's a little comparison to show you what a tiny bit of clear coat does. Man, it really brightens these up. It takes all that 40 years of sun and wear right off of them. Here's what your light is going to look like when it's all nice and taped up. So there's a couple little parameters you're going to want to follow here. So starting at the top edge of the light, right where the top of the lip starts, you're going to do a 1/4 inch piece of masking tape. Then you're going to go through, leave an 1/8 of an inch gap, and then 3/8, 1/8 of an inch, 3/8, 1/8, and then wrap it up with a 1/4. Now the way I've been spacing this out is I did have some spare 1/8 inch pinstriping. I've just been kind of using as a spacer. So now we're ready to scuff it up, hit it with some primer, hit it with some paint. So since I cleared over the plastic part to try to get a nice shine where the light goes through, I do want to scuff it up just to make sure my paint adheres correctly. And for this, I'm going to be using 800 grit, kind of like a Scotch-Brite type of pad, but that's because there are a lot of different surfaces in here. You know, you got some cracks and everything. And the surface of the light isn't actually flat. It's kind of got little rumples and ridges on it from the molding process. So this is flexible, allows me to get into all the cracks, make sure I have a nice scuffed up coat for paint to adhere to. Over here at the paint booth, I got everything nice and scuffed down so the paint should adhere correctly. Now what I'm going to do is wipe it down with some mineral spirits, get rid of any oils or greases that may be on it, and hit it with just a real light coat of primer. And then we'll spray some black on it. Here's a quick shot of it after I hit it with the black. And the perils of outdoor painting, a freaking squirrel stepped on my light while it was drying. Time for the moment of truth. Look at that. Came out pretty dang well. And in the spirit of cleaning things up, might as well hit the housing with a little flat black, try and bring it back to life. Now it's time to put the lens back into the housing. One thing you want to check on are these clips here. I had a couple of them that broke in the process that I was taking it apart, so I did pick up a new 5-pack on Amazon. Just little clips here that kind of bite into the lens and hold it in. So I replaced a few, but I tried to keep the originals. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this gap here with some RTV. That's where the light sits in and it'll form the watertight seal. There's a couple different things you can use. I see a lot of people use that butyl tape stuff, but I don't know. I'm just using RTV because it was a cheaper option. We'll get that glued together and be ready to go. And we've got a guest. Now we got our housing fully assembled. Time to put it in. Installation is just the reverse of removal. But one thing I did want to point out, some of these old nuts here, they did have some semblance of what used to be a rubber washer in there. I'm guessing it's to keep water from intruding into the lens or into the trunk or whatever. So I did go to my local hardware store, picked up some rubber washers here. So we'll throw those on, tighten them up, and should be good to go. Well, there it is. I think this looks pretty sick. A couple of quick notes. The 93 Cobra taillights were actually painted in more of a light gray, and I think the SVOs were charcoal. I went with semi-gloss black just because that's what I'm using as I paint all the rest of the trim. It'll be nice to have it all match up. And I promise I'm not trying to up-badge my car. I won't be tricking anyone into thinking it's a Cobra or an SVO. I just like that rad 80s, 90s looks of the horizontal stripes. In terms of exterior improvements, I think this really adds a lot to my car. The old taillights were flat and faded, the black paint was wearing off, just really aged the car. Now, I've got brand new looking taillights, and the addition of the stripes really adds a nice little pop. Well, that'll do it. If you like what you saw, please give us a thumbs up and a follow, and thanks for watching.